this month's Patreon video is how to turn your pencil from this to this. Look at the difference between those two. Now, this pencil is how it comes out of the box. It has a short lead at a taper, and the wood is tapered. And it's really good for drawing tiny things, or if you're writing, right? So you hold it up close, kind of like that. But if you were to try and hold it far back and make nice, long, graceful lines, you would hit the side of the pencil. So it's not very good for drawing on a larger scale, like on an 8 by 10 or bigger, which isn't that large, for figure drawing, for portrait drawing, for anything, especially if you're drawing for life, especially if you're drawing from life. So that's why we're going to take this tool and change it into this. So you can see that this has a taper on the wood as well as a taper on the lead. Now this could be a little bit thinner in the middle. It could be a little bit sharper. But basically, it goes from really thin, and it's still pretty thin by the time it gets down to about here, right? So we can use this all the way up until here, until we'll have to sharpen it again. We can also hold it really far back, so it becomes a much better tool to make nice broad strokes like this. We can hold it like this and make nice strokes like this, and hold it far back so we can really do some great sketching, some great drawing. So, what are the materials that you'll need? You'll need your Staedtler pencils. These are some great tools to use. I really recommend the Staedtler or the Faber-Castell green pencils because they are much better made, and for this whittling process that we go through, it's really important to have a well-made pencil. So I have a variety of pencils in here. But really all you need are your 2B, your HB, and your 2H. The next thing that you'll need is your X-Acto knife or your box cutter. I tend to use a box cutter because it's a lot more sturdy and the blade doesn't wiggle out as much as the X-Acto knife blade does. And then finally you'll need your sandpaper. So this sandpaper is 150 grit glued to a piece of cardboard. You could also glue it to a piece of wood, which I actually recommend more than cardboard because it's more sturdy. So that's all you need, and well, you also... Okay, so here we have our trash can, and we have our X-Acto blade, and we have our pencil. So if you are right-handed, you want to hold the pencil in your right hand. If you are left-handed, you want to do the opposite. So our natural inclination is to hold the blade in our dominant hand. But what we're going to actually be doing is holding it in our non-dominant hand and resting it on the side of the trash can. And the blade will not move. What's going to do all the work is our dominant hand, the one that's holding the pencil. So I'll demonstrate. I'm going to hold the pencil as far back as I can in the lower digits of my fingers. Then, with the blade grounded and the blade turned, right, so it's turned down a little bit, I'm going to skim away the upper layers of the wood. Now what's really important about this is that my thumb, the thumb that's holding the pencil, is resting right here, so I'm able to be stable the entire time. I'll show you again. So my thumb there we go. I think my blade needs to be sharpened. we go. So what you want to do is very gradually, very carefully skim away that wood until you start to get more of that graphite lead showing. It's a really delicate process. But what makes these Staedtler pencils nice to work with is that they're high quality wood. So if you were using a cheaper pencil, you would have a lot more difficulty shaving this wood off. And essentially what these pencils are made of is two pieces of wood clamped and glued around your graphite. And this graphite is in a tube and it goes all the way through the center of the pencil. So if you have cheap wood or cheap glue or sort of like an amalgamation of wood and glue holding the graphite in there, it's going to be terribly hard to whittle this pencil down. So that's why the Staedtler is a really good tool to use. So with this camera angle, I'm having a hard time resting the knife on the edge of the wastebasket, so I'm just going to pull it forward a little bit for you all to see a little bit better. So I'm spinning around, making that wood a nice taper. And trying to expose about 1.5 inches of this to 1.5 inches of the wood. And I've pretty much successfully done that already. Just want to make it a little bit neater. There we go. Nice and smooth. Now, you can see that there are some areas that didn't quite come off the lead, like this little curlicue. So what you want to do is really lightly try and get rid of these pieces that didn't come off. And why they didn't come off is because the glue is making them stick. So this is very, very, very delicate work. Just getting rid of all that glue until it feels perfectly smooth. Yeah. Alright, there we go. I think it could be a little bit nicer looking. So I'm just going to taper this a little bit more for you guys. There. Beautiful. It's not bad. It's a little bit chunky there. That's not bad right there. Okay, so the next thing you want to do is take your sandpaper pad. And the best thing that you can do when you're starting to sand away is to lay your pencil flat and overlap some of the wood onto the sandpaper. Doing this really ensures that the lead won't snap off, although you do have to be really careful. This is such a fragile pencil at this moment, so you start to learn just the right amount of touch that you can use. So you start to know that it's really working when you get these little piles next to it. It takes a little bit of time. You can go this way, you can go sideways. I'm kind of going in circles, doesn't really matter. You can go back and forth. And the whole time I'm twisting, so it's getting all the way around. Ooh, it's really starting to work. You can see. We keep going. The longer that you make the lead, the longer it will stay sharper because the taper can be more gradual. So if you only had, let's say, an inch of this, you wouldn't be able to get really thin throughout the middle here. But because I have so long, I have about 2 inches here, I'm really going to be able to thin out that middle part too, and have to sharpen a lot less during the progress of my drawing. That's looking really nice. You can see. It's looking real nice. So I think I can get a little bit thinner in the middle. Just keep going. Not so much at the end anymore, but nice. Check that out. Beautiful. So, that's the point. No pun intended.